know there's a little golf tournament going on down the road, so appreciate y'all being here. We've had 4 practices in the books. Yesterday was a little bit slower pace. Guys finished up finals. Excited about the group. Feel much more. I feel better. I feel more excited. I like where we're at, especially compared to where we were a year ago. And know I'm going to get a lot of questions about the quarterbacks. Really like how they're preparing, how they're performing so far. Really, the next 5-7 days will tell a lot. We've done a little bit of good work, but we've been real careful because our guys are going through finals, and Coach Corum did a study and really found out that a lot of injuries occur during finals week. So we've been really careful with our guys. So now we're going to pick up starting this afternoon, do a lot of good-on-goods where the quarterbacks put them in some different situations. So I hope over the next 5 or 7 days that one of those guys is going to stand out. I think Coach Stoops touched base on that. Probably, you can ask, I probably won't have much else to say about those guys other than if you want to ask about them individually, but I probably won't have anything else to say about where we're at in the position. I'm about to the point where I'm tired of answering the question, and a lot of y'all are tired of asking it. So with that, we'll open up questions. Starts off, Lonnie.
How have you been in a situation where you had to overlap summer school and class and get up at 5 o'clock in the morning in order to get the practice at 6?
One other time. We did it the last year at Texas Tech. And to be honest, you've got a lot of time. I think you have 30 practices now. So it's really not that big a deal. We were real conscious about giving our guys academic time because coaches are always in a hurry. You know, that's just the deal. We're always in a hurry. Get better. But the reality of the situation is we've got 30 practices plus a lot of potential walkthroughs. We got plenty of time to get ready for the first game. So we did it at Texas Tech, and that's what I was telling. You know, obviously Chad and Tommy were there with me. So that's what I was telling the rest of the coaches. Just say it's not that bad a situation.
How much of a shock to the body is the 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that's never done it before?
Yeah. Well, getting up early is the good thing about it is our older guys with the previous staff, they practice real early in the morning, which I know put a damper on a lot of your all schedules here the first 4 days too. But really, Coach Stoops did it, so maybe not as many y'all come. No, I'm just kidding. But it was, I think it is a little bit of a shock to the system. Now, what we did, and I thought Coach Edmond and Coach Corum did a really good job of this, is they kind of prepared their bodies for it at the end of the summer. A lot of the team runs or the team workouts started at the same time we were going to practice, so kind of got them prepped for that.
Have any of those quarterbacks done anything in these first few days that was different than you saw in the spring? Dramatically different, I should say, that has changed at all how you view them?
Well, I think if you look at them individually, okay, and really what what I really wanted to see from the end of April from the spring game until when we started on Monday was how much better they improved fundamentally. Because I gave them a lot of things to work on. I'll go through each of them individually and kind of give you one little tidbit. I think Reese Phillips has improved his arm strength. That's something that jumps out to me. I think Patrick Tolles he still has work to do in this, but he is improving his ability to get the ball out on quick and faster. Drew Barker has made less mental mistakes than he made during the spring, even in the last week of the spring practice. And then Maxwell has shown the ability to throw the ball effectively down the middle. Now, he's still got to be able to throw it outside to the numbers to outside, but he's shown the ability, coming off surgery, to throw the ball effectively down the middle.
Neal, you guys said almost every day we talked to you last year that you're waiting for somebody to take the reins on that position. Is there a chance that doesn't happen with this group?
No, I think it will. I actually will. I do, Jen. I think it'll happen. And I think it'll happen. We're going to start getting into more 11-on-11 work, and I do anticipate it happening. The good thing is, and I know y'all are tired of hearing me, y'all been on the banquet circuit with me and all that, is we are going to be better at that position. We're going to be significantly better at that position than we were last year, and a lot of it has to do with year 2 in the system. A lot of it has to do with we're going to be better around them at running back. Our O-line's matured. Everybody's back. We're going to be more talented at receiver. We still have a little bit of ways to go at that position, but we're going to be more talented, and they're going to be fundamentally more sound.
Neal, what do you mean on your quarterbacks when you say you're going to turn up the heat on?
Well, what we've done is basically verbally I've challenged them every day in certain areas. Okay, And I'm coaching them harder earlier in camp to perform at game level. And I'm asking them to make quicker decisions. You know, we've put in a little bit more third down training and some of that stuff early in camp, but it's more of me placing pressure on them. Then in the spring, I took this approach. Hey, we're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy this. And focus on getting better. You individually getting better. That's what we focused on. Now, I'm telling them, hey, we're looking for a guy to win the job. Go win the job. You know, and everything that you do during the course of a practice is getting judged. So yeah, you better have fun with it, but understand that we are keeping score.
You know, how many running backs you have? Should we still call this offense the air raid?
Now, that's kind of the label that's put on it. You know, I don't know. I think all the coaches within this offensive family, I think it got labeled that back in the 96, 97 or so, and all the coaches that are in this family still use that. I think if you look at it, you know, the offensive guys that are in the system, I think everybody now is putting a premium on running the ball. You know, I talked to Tom Leach earlier today on his radio show, and I really believe this, and it said a lot. But in this league, to win big, to win like we want to, is you've got to be able to successfully run the ball when they know you're running it, and you've got to be able to stop the run. And we ran the ball effectively at times last year, but not so much when they knew we were going to run it. And we've got to get better at that. I do like our depth at running back. JoJo and Braylon picked up right where they did in the spring. Those guys, I'm really pleased with them. Josh Clemens, if we can keep him healthy, I'm excited about it. He's going to be really a load for second level defenders to tackle. I mean, he's a big, strong kid. You'll see that today when you see him. And the two young kids have a ways to go. You know, Stanley is really electric with the ball. You know, he's got to get a whole lot more detail oriented. Mikhail has made a big jump, really matured, changed his body. I'm excited. He gives us, you know, along with Josh, he gives us another big kid.
Neal, can you talk a little bit about Darrell Long? What have been your early impressions of him?
Yeah, really smart kid, great character kid. He's going to be what we want at that position. Okay, is he right now? Probably not. You know, he may be a guy that probably needs a red shirt. He probably will tell you that. But he's long. He runs well. He's eager. I think he loves to play, which I think is always the most important thing when I'm judging guys. That's the hardest spot to learn. What we're asking, you know, Darrell Long, Stephen Board, Ronnie Shields at that position, it's the hardest thing to learn because they got to understand they got to know what to do as a slot receiver, as a fullback, and as a tight end. So, you know, he's learning, but I do like his skill set.
Will he play this year just because of the depth?
Well, I think it's too early to tell. I think that'll be probably a question a couple of weeks down the line.
How important is the play of your second-year JUCO players like Borden and Blue going to be this year?
Yeah, well, it's going to be important. You know, I think Javis is in line to make a big jump just because there's going to be less thinking. He's fast. He didn't always play as fast as he really is last year, just because. Yeah, think about it. He had his first practice in August, and then we played. You know, and that is tough. So I think you'll see a jump in him. You know, I wish he could have gone through spring, but that's part of it. Borden is a guy that really one of the objectives for me coming out of spring or coming in out of fall camp. You know, I call it fall camp really first couple of weeks is finding what he's best at. You know, let's use him the most effective. Is he the most effective as a fullback, inline tight end, or a slot receiver? And let's find because he's got a really good skill set. He can run. He's big. You know, he's strong. And I've got to put him in positions where he can be successful.
You said after the spring that the running backs had a 90% catch rate, which was really good. I mean, how much do you?
Well, that's what we want. Everybody had. They were higher than that. Actually, they were higher than that. But go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
How
off.
much? Oh, it's okay. How much can they? You know, how much could they be a part of this air raid?
Well, they need to be. There's no question because if you look at it, they're some of our more talented kids, and we've got to get them involved in the pass game, and that's been a huge emphasis with the quarterbacks. Is you know we've got your running back should be your best friend in your pass game. Okay, because if anything in the pocket breaks down, or if they do a good job covering your primary combination, you've got to be able to find your running backs. And you look at teams that are really successful passing the ball. You can look at what we did at Texas Tech, or like what any of the top passing teams are doing in the country. Their running backs always have a lot of receptions, and they always break the first tackle, whether it's they make somebody miss or they run through an arm tackle.
You mentioned Drew making your mistakes when he was in the spring. How did he benefit from kind of going through that?
Well, I think it's huge. I think not only for Drew, but if you look at the guys on offense that we had that went through spring, you look at Drew Barker, who was able to go through spring all summer. You know, he's really matured. He has a much better understanding, not only what we're doing on offense, but how defense are trying to defend us. Mikael Horton, being here in the spring, you know, going through some growing pains. There were some tough times for him in the spring because he struggled at times, you know. But he was able to go through summer again, and I've talked about this a lot. The new rules were hugely beneficial where we could meet with those guys a little bit each week. But he was able to learn what to do. Now he's less in a learning mode, more in a detailed technique mode. And the same could, like, Thaddeus Snodgrass has made as big a jump in this first week of practice as anybody we've had. I'm talking about from where he left the spring, because he didn't perform that well in the spring game, okay? But he's really studied. He's worked hard on his body, worked out hard on the route technique, all those things, and he's made a big jump here in the first week of practice. And TB Williams is a really football smart kid, and you know, and he had a good feeling what we were doing in the spring. That's carried over this fall.
What do you expect to get out of Dorian Baker and Garrett Johnson at the receiver position?
Well, we're going to need those receivers to come in and play. You know, Garrett started off a little slow, had a really good practice on Wednesday. He's a guy that will play in the slot for us. Could play outside, but probably we need him more as a number in the slot. Was really well coached in high school. He's got a good feel for the game. Knows how to play the receiver position. He's quick, gets in and out of his breaks really well. Has the ability to make a play after the catch. Dorian Baker and Blake Bone both are big guys. You know, we lack length, and that was one of the main priorities in recruiting. And it will be a main priority going forward, is we need length, because everybody can run in this league. Everybody runs well. Every defensive back we're going to play in this league runs well. But everybody doesn't have 6'3" or above playing corner. So, and you can make a lot of those tie ball situations goes to the bigger guy. So Dorian Baker's been impressive. I think Coach Stoops hit on that too. He's been impressive the first week, and he's put himself in a position to compete for playing time, and the same can be said for Garrett and Blake.
What about a guy like Cunningham who has size but didn't play last season? Is he?
Yeah, he's improved. He's improved. I think this competition's been really good for him. You know, and I like, he was really effective. He did a nice job in the spring, got better. He's done a nice job academically, bouncing back from where he missed last year. He's getting pushed. We need him. We need him. He's a guy that we really need to step up in this camp and be able to make plays and give us snaps at that position.
As an offensive coordinator, would you rather not see Timmons during kicks or punts?
Well, I'm good with it, because field position is a huge part of the game. And we feel like he's one of our most skilled athletes. He's, if not the best, one of our best guys with the ball in his hands. And if you look at statistically, if you can steal a first down on the kickoff return team, or you can steal a first down on the punt team, or punt return team, that's a huge advantage in this game.
You listed the third and fourth offensive tackles with a question mark this summer. How do you feel about that on weekend camp?
Well, I think it's probably a little too early, you know, because we've only had one really patterned practice so far. I think Tevin Eatman is more comfortable at tackle than maybe I thought he was. He had 15 practices in the spring, and I think he could be a legitimate option for us there. And then Kyle Meadows really benefited from his redshirt year. I'm excited to see how he progresses over the next 2 weeks. He's a guy that we really need to come and make an impact.
What about Badette?
Badette's coming back from his injury. He's been practicing. He is, I think, mentally and just understanding how to play the game night and day ahead of where he was last year. And that's really, I've spent, you know, the last day or two, I've really watched some videos of opponents that will play this year, and just watching our game over again. And just watching Jeff this week in practice and comparing that to where he was last year, just way, way ahead, much further along from a mental standpoint of how to get open on routes and how to win on leverage, those type of things. So pleased with his progress. Alex is yet to practice, and we're you know, we have a whole lot of trust in our medical people, and we always make medical decisions based on, you know, what's good for the team, but more importantly, on an individual basis, what's best for that kid. And we're not going to put him in the fire until he's ready. And he's still going through that rehab process. You know, a lot's been made on ACL injuries. I still, I really believe they're year-long injuries. You know, from post-op. Now, some guys come back earlier, and you're in a position where you get released, but mentally, physically, I think it really takes a year. And I think he's probably ahead of that curve a little bit. but we're being cautious with it.
You have him at number 1 at that wide receiver spot on the spring depth chart. Who's sort of taken over that position while you're waiting for him to?
It's been by committee a little bit. I think we're waiting for somebody to jump up and take that. You know, we can always play the tight end spot there too. You know, so Steve Borden and Ronnie Shields are getting some reps there. Playing Garrett Johnson. Cameron Fogle was a kid that walked on from Conner High School, was Drew's lead receiver when Drew was a junior. He's done really well in fall camp so far. He's a potential option there. We could always, DeMarco's a guy that's really flexible, that has a good understanding of what we're doing at all those spots, and we can move some guys around.
Neal, in what area would you like to see the most improvement from now until that opener, to the opener?
Well, I'll tell you this, and I hope this answers your question, is really what our three goals as an offensive staff is for our unit is number one, improve our tempo. You know, and I've got a saying that right now that's tempo above all. So we want to improve our tempo first. Secondly, we've got to get fundamentally better at each position group and then as an individual player. And the third thing is we got to develop a mentality. We got to have a more offensive mentality. We've got to be able to overcome adversity. We've got to expect to convert third downs. We've got to expect to score touchdowns in the red zone. Okay, so those are our three goals. If you want to break it down a little bit further, I think one of the key things for us moving forward, there's a couple things. And so when I look at how can we make big jumps statistically, and if you make big jumps statistically, you're gonna change the outcome of games. Is the two givens are holding on the ball, which is something we did a really good job of last year, and we emphasize that on a daily basis. I think that's a coaching. And then penalties. We need to reduce our penalties. You know, especially unforced error penalties, procedure penalties, those type of things, delay games, anything like that. So those are givens. And then what we've got to do is we've got to be better on first down. Drive starters and first down. First play of the drive. If you go back and kind of look through my career, our staff's career as an offensive coordinator, if we've gotten a first down in our initial drive, if we've gotten that first down, we've been pretty successful. So I want to see us be much better on drive starters and then much better overall first downs. Because last year, we weren't very good on third down, and that's the truth. But a lot of that was due to us not being very good on first down. You know, most teams aren't going to be very good at 3rd and 7 or longer.
Yeah, what's the biggest hindrance to playing at tempo?
And hindrance, what do you mean? Like is
Prevent you from being able to go with
prevent, okay, not getting first downs. You've got to get the initial first down to play fast, and that's what happened to us last year. We weren't getting first downs, so then you can't just say, okay, hey, I'm going to play fast regardless, because if you do that, then you just continually put your defense in bad situations, especially if you're not very good. You know what I mean? So now we're better. I think we got more skill. We got better understanding what to do. But the important part is we've got to get an initial first down. Once you do that, you can get the defense on their heels.
You said you regretted a little bit last year, you know, trying to maybe overcompensate for some of the lack of talent with tinkering and trying to maybe out scheme some people or trick people. How much more will this be able to look like the offense that people know have seen you run?
Yeah, well, it'll be close, but I think it's also important. And you know, and I've got that question a bunch. And the more I think about it, I think it's important. We will look closer. We won't look exactly the same. But it's also important to understand that offenses must evolve. We must evolve. You know, we were great in 2012 at Texas Tech. That's true. But you know, if we did the exact same thing in 2014, I'm not sure it would be as successful because the defenses have evolved. So we've got to continually evolve. But I do feel like, you know, right now, and what I talked about in the spring, and what after going back and really looking at everything that we did over December and January, we tried to out-scheme people and overcompensate for areas where we were maybe less talented or didn't have the depth. And if I had to do it over again, I think I'd just go back and really focus on tempo and fundamentals. And that's kind of where we're at. You know, those goals I gave John, those were 1 and 2.
Two-part question. One is next year you have 64 plays per game.
Don't remind me, Don.
What do you want to get to it?
Well, I think, and Tom Leach asked me this not too long ago, I think Goal-wise, I think we'll start off with around 75. Like in a perfect world, I think 80 to plus is what we want at the end of the day. But I think you gotta set goals. So 64, hey, that's your starting point. At least I don't like it, but at least I know where our starting point is. So I think we need to get 75 plus. You know, here's what. And if you look, basically we were low. Okay, but it comes down to this: we've got to convert third downs, which I already said goes a lot into how you perform on first down. We've got to convert third downs. Okay, which we'll be better at. We will be better at it. Okay, and then defensively, they've got to get off the field on third down. So let's say that we convert 2 more third downs a game, and the defense makes 2 more stops on third down. That's 4 more sets of downs. You know, so 12 plays in the minimum.
And the second part of that
Yes.
is that over 12 game schedule, if you broke it down as to basically how many points you got to average per game to have a winning season.
I haven't looked at it. That's an interesting question. I go look at our stat software and I'll be able to give you a better answer. So you might hit me up later in the week on that, or beginning of next week. I've looked at a lot of stats, but I haven't looked at that.
If you ain't much experience yet sending your running back up the middle against Matty, what challenge will he eventually?
He's getting better. He's a load up front. You know, what we try to do is really run him side to side and maybe try to hit him in the middle. But we haven't gone against him a ton yet. But he's really big. He's really big. Got a lot of football savvy about him too. I think that goes kind of, people look at his size, and that's the first thing they talk about. But he's got a lot of football savviness about him.
Everybody talks about Bud and Darius. Are there any defensive guys that are causing you guys trouble or you have to account for right now?
I think A.J. Stamps has had a really good first week. He sticks out. We're definitely better at corner. Just from a technique and depth standpoint, they can run more guys out there. Jason Hatcher is an issue in pass protection too. You know, he kind of gets overshadowed. Josh Forrest is a guy I think's improved. His length at linebacker causes problems. He gets his hands on a lot of balls. He can cover a lot of ground. So those would be some guys that jump out to me.
Neal, how did Zach
Last one.
West?
Zach? Yeah, Zach's doing better. He knows. That was a huge emphasis for us. Is we needed to get better at that spot. We didn't play in the interior of the O-line, center and 2 guards. We didn't play as well as we needed to last year. And the good thing is we got most of those guys back. You know, at center, I think John Todd has really picked up exactly. He was our most improved player. If not totals, then he was the most improved player on offense in the spring. He's put on weight and been able to hold it. I think he's around 305. I don't know exactly what he is on the roster, but that's where he's, you know, about. And he's doing a much better job. He'll be able to hold that line and get the movement at the point of attack, which is very important. And then the 2 guards, Zach, you know, he's got still, I mean, we've got some guys, Cole Moser and Nick Haynes, those guys are pushing for the job. You know, he's still there. And his biggest issue last year was lateral movement. You know, when defensive lineman was moving, he got matched up against a defensive end. He had issues. And he's really worked over the last 9-10 months to correct that. And I think he'll be a better player, but he's got to continue to come on.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you all.